If you're calling into the meeting on the conference, controls are joining from landline or cell by calling dial or dialing them by number. To hear all available commands, enter ** on your phone, *6 to mute or unmute yourself, *9 to virtually raise your hand. How we will run this meeting is as follows. Code of conduct for meetings. Penalties and actions. Bronx Community Board 7 has the right to remove and or ask a member of the public to leave a meeting or block participation of anyone who engages in inappropriate conduct, including but not limited to obscene or offensive images or language, personal attacks, threats, or any other behavior that reasonably impedes the orderly administration of the meeting. Repeated offenses will be reviewed by the board's executive committee or by any other assigned committee for event. The amount of time to be objectively determined by the above committees of the participant in the event of repeated disruptive behavior. For person outburst, attacks the line, continue, this would be considered disturbing the peace, and the authority shall be summoned. Everyone besides the speaker presenter will stay muted throughout the meeting. After each presentation is over, I will inquire if committee members have any questions. Committee members will signify that they have a question by pressing the raised hand button on your screen or request to speak throughout the chat or when the chair opens the floor. Members of the public who have joined through the online link will be able to ask questions and make a brief statement on the item after each presentation and after the committee has had an opportunity to ask clarifying questions. By pressing the raise hand button on your screen or request to speak through the chat or when the chair opens the floor. Only those recognized by the chair of the committee will be allowed to speak during the allotted time. We will stay on topic with the agenda items. Any other items will be acknowledged by the chair in new business or addressed at the next meeting granted there is time and the committee agrees on the topic. Following the questions, discussions, and public comment portion, the committee will begin their discussions after each presentation agenda item and will conclude with a decision to vote on a recommendation. When the agenda is finished, the meeting will be adjourned. If there are any questions relating to the meeting software or process, please let the district manager know and they will be able to help us out. So again, thank you everyone for joining. Happy New Year. We'll start first. Thank you for joining. It's been a few months since we had our last meeting. We didn't have a meeting for the month of December. So we're going to start a meeting now for 2023. First, I'd like to start off with a regular agenda and open it up to NYPD. I know we have a short agenda and it's good. I know folks want to get back to run the errands and do anything they have to do at home. So I think we had Officer Scott on the line. Officer Scott, if you want to just give us some updates from NYPD's 52nd precinct and any communication that the public needs for this month, that would be great. Or Officer Costa on the line, I'm not sure.
My name is Officer Scott from the 52nd Precinct. I am the NCO for Sector Adam, but I'm here on behalf of all the NCOs in the office today. So any other community concerns, questions, things like that, I'll be answering.
Thanks, Officer Scott. Is there any way you can give us a summary of what's been happening for the past 30 days in our district, or if you want to give us a summary of crime across our borough and city?
Oh, Victor?
Yes.
Hi, can you hear me, Victor? It's Officer Acosta.
Hey, Officer Costa.
Hi, how are you? Yeah, so I got a little bit. I have a little bit of the crime stats that I just want to share with everybody of the things that have been going on for the 28-day period. Happy New Year, everyone, by the way. For those who don't know me, I'm Officer Costa, the crime prevention officer. I just want to give everybody aware of like a little bit of the crime that's happened in the last 28 days and bring attention to a little bit of the patterns that I want everybody to just kind of be aware of. So I'm just going to go over some numbers for the 28-day period of December 12th to January 8th. So overall, homicides, we have up by 1. Rapes were down by 3 from 28-day period. We've seen a little significant spike in the robberies. We're up by 13 in the robberies. Felony assaults are down by 11. Burglaries are down by 1. Grand larcenies are significantly down by 57. That's pretty much 51.8% down from last year, which is really good. We still see a little bit with the GLAs. We're up by 7. Primarily, this is pretty much 7 out of 10 vehicles that are being reported are the unattended vehicles. Of course, people are leaving, running out when they run into a store, in and out and stuff like that. I got an email about this not too long ago that primarily the vehicles that are doing this are all the vehicles that have the push button features. Everybody still feels that if they have the key fob that the vehicle cannot drive. And some of a lot of the American car models and stuff like that have been known to kind of like pretty much still keep driving even though the owner has a key fob. So that's just been something I want to bring attention to there. When it comes to the robberies, we've been up. There's been some citywide patterns. One's been going on since December. We've had a lot of units pretty much out on it. It's been a robbery pattern involving luxury vehicles and a Mercedes-Benz. Multiple individuals in a vehicle just driving around with, fake plates and things like that. They've hit quite a few precincts citywide. It's not just a 5-2 problem. It's been Manhattan, Bronx, 4-1, 4-5, 4-8, 4-7, 4-9, 5-2, and even 1 in Queens. So this is a big concern. We do have a lot of units, Bronx robbery and everything like that, pretty much going out every day to see if like any of these vehicles are out there. Again, different plates. They're hitting different locations in the city. So it's just something that's concerning. My advice to everybody is please, if you see any suspicious vehicles with multiple occupants in there, any type of store or any type of just kind of looking a little funny, don't be afraid to call 911, have a police car drive by, especially if the vehicle has some sort of like fake plates or non real plates, anything with expired plates, things like that. Doesn't hurt to just shoot a little call over so we can come take a look. So that pattern is primarily that's happening. They're aiming for jewelry, money, or anything like that, targeting any type of individual in any isolated place, going for jewelry and going for money. So things I want to bring attention to be vigilant out there, especially in like the main shopping areas or anything like that. It's cold out, so there's not a lot of people. So anybody who's kind of isolated on a block is usually a target they would probably go for. It's just something to be very careful of, be mindful of. Just give me one moment. Just a couple of announcements real quick. I don't know if anybody's seen on our Twitter page, we've gotten a lot more officers assigned to the 5-2 precinct. I think it's a little bit less than 30, but we've gotten a lot more officers now, and there should be a lot more officers on the street, out on patrol and being out there. So we got a picture of them on our Twitter page. So that's some really good news that we got more officers working now. I was told there's a meeting January 26th. I think it's the community council meeting coming up. I think that's a Zoom meeting. We'll post it up on our Twitter just to get the details. And then there's an NCO Charlie meeting coming up. I believe it's March 2nd. Those are the announcements I pretty much have right now. So that's all I have to cut for the crime stats right now. If anybody has any questions or anything like that specific to these crimes, I'll be right here and take any questions if you like. Thank you.
So thank you for that update. I do want to open up with a few questions. We are starting a new year, and I think some new laws are probably now into effect. We had a few marijuana dispensaries open in the city. What should the public do if they see folks in the community smoking marijuana in parks or in train stations? That's something that NYPD will be enforcing. What is the process if they see them around the school? So is there anything that the public can do? I'm just getting a few text messages about that.
Well, as of right now, the smoking laws still apply. There is no smoking in the park, schools or anything like that, or trains and things. So although those are offenses that can be addressed for the infraction of the quality of life for smoking, things like that. There are a lot of officers now on the trains. I don't know if anybody's been seeing them. They've been deploying officers on overtime, things like that. So everywhere you go on a train station, there should be an officer either there in the platform or in the main area. If you do see any of that, that's something you could bring to the attention of them. Parks and things like that. Sometimes it's usually difficult, to get officers there in time, because by the time any calls come through, usually person's pretty much done with what they're doing. If they're smoking it out pretty much in a regular public place, it's pretty much legal for them to do that. We're still getting a little bit more on like the the laws and stuff like that about like of the places that are selling the marijuana. I know there's only like a few places in the city that have the permits and licenses to do it. Right now, one of the biggest things they're trying to, address is where they're selling marijuana illegally and things like that. So, those are like violations that, we've been on. I've gotten certain emails about it. I'm not sure if like we're eyeing the smoke shops to see what they're doing. As of right now, most crime prevention officers are going out to them just to see whether or not they're selling marijuana or not. It's something that's going to be, brought to light soon as pretty much we get on board with the sheriffs and things. But again, more information still comes to me as, through email and things like that. So I'll keep everyone posted in future meetings on what's going on with that.
Questions before I open it to committee members. I think Lowell brought this up, but it seems the trucks on Bainbridge have moved. The large trucks that used to park on Bainbridge have been moved. They now parking outside Woodlawn Cemetery. Is there any activity from NYP for taking to sort of deter that behavior from these big trucks now parking from 233rd Street on the 4 train station to Woodlawn Cemetery?
Are we talking about, semi-sized trucks or just box trucks or anything like that? Or is it full like semis and trailers?
So I know Lowe is in that section of the neighborhood. I think she mentioned these were large trucks. I don't know what specific kind of trucks.
Okay. Okay, that's on the
We're
border.
getting everything.
I'm sorry.
We're getting everything. They used to be farther north. They're now moving down south, and we're getting a little bit of everything depending on what the space is. And like you said, they're on the Van Cortlandt side, so it is not the 5-2 precinct who is responsible for that, but it's the 50th.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. Is that's the border of the 5-2 and the 5-0. We'll take a look at anything on our end. I mean, we can try and write parking summonses, and we're doing that a lot over the summer. But in regards to getting the trucks towed, that usually came after a month of writing summonses in the same spot. And even then, the traffic division would, they would remove a few, but not all, just because of the resources that are available and the size of those trucks. But, and then again, it's not technically considered a residential area, at least up past 213th by the cemetery. So I'd have to check, but I'm pretty sure they actually are allowed to park there overnight. So I don't even know if we would be able to, but then further down south, where the residential areas are, that's a different story. So we can check that.
Okay, sure. And then the last question I got via text message from a member that joined is that they mentioned that I guess new laws came into effect this year regarding cars that are idling on the street and a noise code. Is the 52nd precinct aware of these sort of codes or laws that are now for cars that are idling on the streets and certain cars that have a certain, I guess, noise to them?
Cars idling and loud exhausts have always been summonsable offenses. We'd have to be there to observe it in order to write the summons. And as far as complaints that I've personally gotten, I mean, they're usually 311 calls or things like that. But then again, by the time we get there, the car's usually gone or things like that. But double parked cars idling, especially in the crowded areas, are things that we've been addressing in the past couple months. So we are trying to address that, at least with parking summonses. But as far as the loud cars, like, we'll be driving around, and a bunch of times I'll be driving around and I can hear them, but I can't necessarily find out which car it is. It's something we have to observe. But we do try to address it whenever we do observe it.
Great, thank you, Officer Scott. So I do see a few hands up from the committee, so I'm gonna start first with Myrna, if you want to unmute yourself and ask.
Yes, I just want to go back to the marijuana smoking. They passed a law a couple of years ago that you could not smoke in any park or the beach. So that goes for everything. So I've seen now that it's legal, they're just smoking in the park and nobody's stopping them. We need to put up signage to remind people that you cannot smoke in the public parks or the beaches, because they really don't, some people don't know, even the Parks Department people, because I have approached the Parks Department employees and they said, oh, really? Because I've even seen some of them smoking. I'm talking about regular cigarettes. So we need that signage. We need the reminders. I'm going to contact the local councilwoman also, because it's just not good for our children. And they always tend to congregate near the children's playgrounds, which is outrageous. So any help that the 5-2 can do with that, I would really appreciate.
Okay, we'll try. I'll try and send an email to parks. I believe they control the signage in the parks. But again, it's you rarely saw any summonses written for people smoking cigarettes in the park, and now it's just kind of been lumped into one. I understand the difference, but it's the same ticket that would be written. Essentially, you have to view marijuana now in New York State, after the law was passed, as basically a cigarette. So anywhere where you're not allowed to smoke, you're not allowed to smoke marijuana. But if you're inside the park, it's no good. But if they walk on the sidewalk, then it's fine. So that's where we're at in New York State now. And like I said, I'll try and get in touch with parks to put up signs, and at least the parks and the 5-2, just to make everyone aware that smoking is in fact illegal and summonsable on park property.
Yes, Myrna, yeah, I think if we can reach the council members, maybe they can help with some signage to help deter some of the behavior. Officer Scott, is it the same are there currently open rules for alcohol drinking, or is that also not allowed?
Alcohol is still the same. Anywhere on public property, you're not allowed to have an open container of alcohol. So it's actually stricter for alcohol than marijuana, believe it or not. So, like people drinking on a sidewalk is summonsable, but people smoking marijuana on a sidewalk is not. So that's where alcohol is. Anywhere in the public, you're not allowed to have an open container of alcohol.
Okay, thank you. So next, Samantha, I know you had your hand up if you want to ask your question.
I do actually. In terms of schools, and I'll bring up the Roosevelt campus, because I go in and out of that school often. And yeah, they smoke weed in the school a lot. And I was wondering if this is something that would be directed towards our education committee. But since I have you guys here, because I understand school safety is under NYPD jurisdiction as well. And I kind of wanted to have an idea, maybe in Roosevelt particularly, like how does this, I guess the legality of it, how is this going to affect the gang activity? Because I feel like it's probably increasing gang activity within the school as well. I don't know if like what's going on in the school, if you've seen a difference in terms of rise of gang activity as a result of as a result of legalization of marijuana. I'm not sure if there is even if it even matters, because if the kids are going to get it, they're going to get it. My concern is that also there's a middle school and a high school, right, in Roosevelt. It's the middle school kids that I'm concerned about too. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand where I'm going with that question?
Yeah, I understand. I don't know of any direct correlation between the two. And I did hear in a meeting earlier, I don't have the exact stats, but juvenile violent crime is on the rise. Again, I don't know of any correlation between the two. And as far as inside the schools, school safety would have to have a lock on all that. You know, they would have to take care of that. And they can write summonses too, or at least, you know, notify parents if they, you know, if that's how they want to handle it. But, you know, we can't necessarily say, oh, we found this group of kids, you know, smoking marijuana in a school, so we should label them, you know, in a crime group or things like that. It's kind of a jump, and you know, I'm not saying, you know, it's a wrong assumption to lead to, but just, you know, in legal terms, as the police department, we can't do that. So we have to kind of just take it as we see it and take the violations that we see. And, you know, hopefully we can address it, get in touch with these kids. We have YCOs, youth coordination officers that usually intervene when when reports for these things pop up. And we try and at least intervene in these, you know, kids' lives to try and make sure they don't go down the wrong path.
Okay, I appreciate that. I just want to speak to the principal of that one school, and I want to see how else we can collaborate with the youth coordinator or the coordination officers and stuff like that. I mean, I think it might be worth a try.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, our youth coordination officers are very receptive. If you want to reach out to them, they can at least try and get in touch with the schools. They have a much closer relationship with the schools than the neighborhood guys like myself have. And they'll try and, you know, at least facilitate some sort of conversation as to how we can move forward.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Samantha. I'm sorry about that. Muted. Any other questions from the committee before I open it to the public? No? Okay. So I think we have a member of the public at Mr. AJ, the artist. If you want to unmute yourself. And
hello, can you hear me?
yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to correct the record. In the chat, I dropped the link to the New York City Parks rules. It says smoking is allowed on outside sidewalks, outside the parks, including sidewalks that form the perimeter of parks. For example, smoking will be allowed on the sidewalk of Fifth Avenue outside Central Park. To me, that's Marshallou Parkway. It's the same setup. And it also states, even though medians in the middle of large streets such as Broadway are under the jurisdiction of parks, they are mainly used to cross the street. So smoking by pedestrians will be permitted to continue in these areas. So it is allowed, it's just in certain parts. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. So thank you, Officer Scott and Officer Acosta. I'm going to briefly, I put your contact information, I see your contact information in the chat, but I'm going to put the 5660 website and the Twitter page if you want the latest and greatest from a precinct. Again, thank you. I'm going to be 50 seconds. So next for this evening, I don't believe we have anyone from FDNY or OEMS Emergency Service Online. So I want to open to Carlos from the District Attorney's Office. If you're still there, Carlos, you might be muted. I think he left, so we'll give him another minute or so to rejoin, see if maybe he had an issue. Hey, Carlos, I'm not sure.
Hi, I'm sorry, disconnected. So good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. My name is Carlos Santorez. I am the Crime Prevention Coordinator over at the Bronx District Attorney's Office. I am also the co-chair of the Bronx Reentry Task Force. So I want to say thank you to the brave women and men of the NYPD for their services. Greatly appreciated. So if I'm not mistaken, Samantha asked if I could just get on briefly and just talk about like my role, collaborations that I've had or continue to have with NYPD, CBOs, FBOs, and other organizations. So long story short, my job here at the Bronx District Attorney's Office as the Crime Prevention Coordinator is to build relationships, maintain those relationships, and find ways that we can collaborate with different organizations to help create a safer, stronger, healthier community. One of the examples that I would give in regards to like the way our office or myself have collaborated with NYPD, in particular, since this is the 5-2 with the and a CBO, I would say last week on January 5th, I participated in a shooting response with Bragg, and there were, the 5 cure violence sites from New York City. In the past, our office has also held a march that led from 183rd and Valentine, which is the 4-6, and it ended in the confines of the 5-2, which was 197th and Valentine Avenue. Most recently, our office, along with NYPD, I'm not sure if it's Transit District 11 or 12, but whatever, that where the D train is at, the Kingsbridge D train is at, Bronx Works, Department of Mental Health and Hygiene, and other organizations, we did a walkthrough in regards to the Kingsbridge underpass. I've been in the office for 2.5 years, and I noticed that within the last year or so, that has been a major concern around that area, in particular the underpass, where some folks are using it, unfortunately, to shoot up drugs, or they're using it as a homeless shelter. And so that's we've had meetings before in regards to what can we do to make that more of a safe location for CB7 members. And that's pretty much, and that's pretty much it. I do also focus on reentry. So for those who are not familiar with reentry, this is for individuals who were formerly incarcerated coming back home. What is it that we can do to make their transition a little smoother? So, for example, right now we're in the process of organizing our 5th annual reentry resource fair. One of the many challenges returning folks face is employment, education, health benefits. ID is a major thing. So the purpose of our resource fairs is to collaborate with those reentry programs, those cure violence programs, hospital-based programs where they're able to come in and provide those services. And again, as a crime prevention coordinator, I will echo what Police Officer Acosta mentioned, right? If you see something, say something. And one last thing that we're doing at the Bronx District Attorney's Office, we have what's called Bronx CAMS Initiative, and that stands for Community Assisted Mapping Systems. So, for example, if you have cameras on your property or your place of business, it's free. You can register those cameras online with our office. The purpose of that is to promote public safety, but also to help with successful prosecution. The public will not be aware of who signed up for the camera for this particular program. However, this was brought to my attention at a previous board meeting. If a crime has been committed in front of your house or your place of business, and since we have that footage, there's a 100% chance that footage is going to be used in the courtroom. Just full disclosure. And the last thing, our office does not provide cameras for this program. So it's if you already have the cameras set up and at your home, your residence, or your place of business. Again, my name is Carlos Torres. I'm the crime prevention coordinator here at the District Attorney's Office. I'll put my information in the chat box. And last thing, I promise I won't hold everybody up, but just to let everybody know on this call, I am not a prosecutor. I am not an attorney. So if there's any legal questions, feel free to ask, and I will bring it back to the bureau chief. We table it, and I'll have an answer for you. If anybody on this call has any, community concerns, again, you have the 5-2 there, but if you don't want to reach out to the 5-2, you have me as well. Things like, for example, I know, I believe it's Samantha that mentioned that there might be some issues over at, Roosevelt. Growing up, to me, it was called Roosevelt High School. Now there's like 5 schools in that school. So it's just those relationships that I have with different community board organizations that can come in and maybe do a gang intro 101 to the parents who send their children to that school, or to teachers who are not familiar with the culture. So thank you for your time. I greatly appreciate it. And I'll be on this call if anybody has questions.
Thanks, Carlos. I have a thank you for all the information. I know it's a lot. Is there any way you can send flyers to Bronx Community Board 7 about events that are up and coming, and also information if businesses and homeowners will like to register their cameras with NYPD, just help with any crime or
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. I'll make sure to provide you with that information in regards to the Bronx cams. I do not. So I should have said this earlier. I work in the Crime Strategies Bureau. So our our bureau is focused on data, right? So we mostly deal with full disclosure, right? We often deal with guns, gang activity, and that's pretty much it. We do have a community affairs unit. They have a lot of events coming up, but what I'll do is get those flyers from our CAU and share them with you all.
Thank you. So I just want to open to see if there's any questions from the committee for Carlos.
Yeah, I do real quick. To register the cameras, is there a link that you could share in the chat or no?
No, unfortunately, I wish I can, but what I'm gonna do is, you know what? I'm not gonna waste any time. While I'm on this call. If it's okay with you all, is it okay if I can send the letterhead and the application to the email for CD7? Is that okay? And please feel free. So like one of the other things that my goal is to do this year is something that I started before the holiday season, is hitting up, I'm from 170th in the Grand Concourse, Bronx born and raised, BX all day. One of my goals this year is to go to those shopping areas, hit the Fordham Roads, hit 205 and Bainbridge, so 149 and 3rd Avenue, to provide this information. I know some folks are a little hesitant to be working with law enforcement. We're prosecuting office. I get it. But it's like, how can NYPD help and how can the Bronx District Attorney help if you don't want to report anything? So, that's my little spiel to the community. I get it. I understand it. But we only could be better by working together.
Thank you, Carlos. Yeah, so I think it's great. Send over the flyer, and then BX Community Board 7 will send that over to the community so they can review. I don't see any additional hands. If anyone from the community has any questions, let me know now. If not, we'll thank Carlos and we'll wait for the flyers. Great, so thank you, Carlos. I do want to put in the chat 2 additional items that did get forwarded to me to share with the public tonight from our community board. The first one is it's a link on active shooter preparedness. I guess the federal government is providing some sort of training online. If anyone wants to know anything, get ready for active shooter preparedness. There's a link. Make sure you registered, and I believe they provide you a few videos on how you can prepare yourself should you be in that situation. Also, on Monday the 19th, there is lithium battery safety. There is a lot of, we do have in the community, for example, bicycle devices are using lithium ion batteries, which are dangerous to the community. So there is an event to get more information in how you can help be prepared for any issues that do come up with lithium battery. The registration link is on the chat, so feel free to register for that session. And then Lo, I do see your hand up. If you have a question, I'm ask you to unmute.
Yeah, I think everybody should be talking more about the proper disposal of these lithium batteries. Because, we talk about them at sanitation and they say, oh yeah, take them down to Hunts Point. They'll take them down there. Well, unfortunately, people in our neighborhood are not going to go down to Hunts Point, and we need to talk to our local electeds to maybe every 6 months have an event in our community where people can dispose of them properly at a place in our community. And a lot of people who have these lithium batteries, have them in scooters and things like that, cannot get down to Hunts Point, let alone know where Hunts Point is.
They throw in their
So
garbage.
I think we need to talk more about finding a proper place to dispose of these batteries.
I think that's a great idea. Is it okay if I task you with, let's start reaching out to our council members, seeing if there's any way that we can maybe put some sort of, I guess, in their office where members of the public can maybe drop off all lithium batteries or like cell phones and stuff like that, because I know it's difficult now that DSNY is asking the public to go to Hunts Point to drop off these things. But if something is available locally at the council member's office, maybe it helps a bit. So is it okay, Lowell, if I can task you with starting that email chain and those conversations? Okay, great, Lowell. So maybe for next month, we'll get an update to see where we are, and hopefully we have some good news for the community. Maybe there's some businesses in the community that would like to participate and help us out. Mr. AJ, the artist, I do see your hand up.
Hi, there's actually one of those at the Best Buy Fordham. They have a bin before you go in the second set of doors for the different kinds of batteries and all the items, I guess, because they sell them. But there's a place closer than where Hunts Point, way closer. Fordham and Webster, right there, the Best Buy.
Thank you, Mr. AJ, the artist. So yes, so I guess locally, if folks have smaller devices, anything they want to be able to throw it on their garbage, I guess Best Buy and Fordham Worcester does have the ability. And then Lowell and Public Safety Committee will work to see if we can work with council members to see if we can get some bins either at their sites. I do see that some libraries also offer bins for lithium batteries, which is good. Maybe then we can ask to see if our local library doesn't mind having a bin and then having DSNYs pick it up, because they do have shredding day as well, where members of the public can take their shred document to get shredded. And I think we can ask that to the education committee. With that being said, I did post those 2 items to register. Members of the committee, are there any additional questions or items they would like to discuss, or something that we would like to have an update for our next meeting in February? No, great. Well, everyone, the meeting's been recorded. It'll apply in, let's see, I see NYP 52nd precinct with the hand up. Do you have a question or concern?
Hey, Victor, no, I just wanted to make a little announcement to everybody in terms of like surveys or safety presentations. I Miss Calderon, she's on the line. She I usually do safety presentations at elderly centers or anywhere in any type of building or something like that. If anybody's interested or knows, my contact information is there. I usually go around and do quite a few during the whole year. So my contact is there. If you have any type of, community centers or anything that are interested in like safety tips or presentation, please let me know. Also too, security surveys. That's something I'm trying to get out there and do more local businesses. So if you hear of any local businesses that are looking to update, get a security survey, things like that, just to see if their, security's up to par. I go over cameras and things like that. Basic, whatever it is that they have going on, I assess it, put it on a piece of paper, and pretty much let them know what kind of upgrades they could do to their business to keep it more safer. As you brought it before, the active shooter, that's one way to actually kind of to be, to bring awareness to it is the physical security of an actual place is very important. And it's something that I'm the only officer in the precinct. Every crime prevention officer is qualified to do it. So again, it's one of the things to see what security measures and things like that these locations have going on. And I'm able to kind of put it on paper and bring aware of like any vulnerabilities or things going on in the business that they can either upgrade or things like that. So my information is in the chat. Please, give me a call if you're interested. If you know any businesses that are interested, please distribute my information. if you can. Thank you.
Myrna, I do see your hand up. You have a question?
No, I just wanted to comment on the officer. He did come to Fordham Hill and gave a amazing workshop for our seniors. I highly recommend that everybody ask for the workshop because I learned things that I didn't think about as far as safety. So I highly recommend that you welcome him, and maybe even the committee wants to have him give the workshop and open it up to the community. It's really, it was really well done. And like I said, I learned a lot.
Great. We'll plan to see if we put it on the agenda for February or March to have the workshop offset. Plus, I'll reach out to you, see how we can prepare something for the public, and it'll be recorded so members are able to reference it as needed.
Awesome, thank you. I also, just real quick, I do have one I'm trying to organize within the next 2 months for seniors. It's going to be a public one where I'm going to have a flyer out and have pretty much anybody welcome from the public just come to this safety meeting. I'm usually just trying to work to see where I can do it because I'm going to need a large space and I'll have like additional speakers with me. That's all going to be on our Twitter page once I get it together. And then I'll just keep everyone posted on that as well. And thank you, Myrna. Just wanted to appreciate it.
Thank you. So before I forget, I know I was about to close the meeting. I do want to do a quick attendance now that everyone is here. So I'm going to do a quick roll call and let me know if you're here. I do see most of you. First, Samantha Watson.
Samantha Savatz is present.
Myrna Calderon.
Present.
Manjur Chaudhry. And then
Maharani Sibajan.
Yes, quorum. I mean, we did have quorum, but thank you everyone for joining. So I will touch base in February if anything changed.
I'm a member of the committee.
Oh, wow, Lowell, sorry.
I'm
Lowell,
sorry.
And Myrna, did you call Myrna?
Yeah, he called Myrna.
He called you. Okay, he called you. Okay.
Yes.
Green here? I think I heard her, but she didn't say.
Thank you.
Low Green.
Lowell Green is present.
There you go, Low. Great. Great. Thank you, everyone. We'll touch base in February. Again, Happy New Year, and minutes will be posted, and I believe the video might be posted earlier on YouTube. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.